these are the 10 TV shows from the 90s that changed the world. And I agree with a decent number of them. But there are some that I just don't feel were world changing. But you can have the argument, and please chime in wherever you're watching from or in the comments below. So number 10 is already on the screen there, Twin Peaks. I don't have a point of reference, didn't watch it, but I would say it changed the landscape of television and changed a lot of what can be actually popular and commercial, I would say.
It was a brave move by ABC when they put it on, because it was, I think, 91-ish, something like that, when it debuted.
Yep, 1990 to 1991.
Yeah. And so when you think about all the other stuff that was on, that was, it's Full House and Urkel and, it's all that kind of stuff. And then, you got this really freaky David Lynch story that went on. And it was one of those things where it's like, oh, you can do that on network television and people will be transfixed to it. And it was, it definitely was a moment. I think 2 years was all it could have lasted, because it is it's such an overwhelming thing. And by the end of the second year, I mean, that's when it was like really off the rails. Like any David Lynch. Yeah. But it did at least demonstrate that you can do this on TV.
Yeah, they said, although it was canceled after 2 seasons, it became a cult phenomenon, left an indelible mark on shows like Lost, Stranger Things, The Leftovers. And to your point, it showed that television didn't need to be spoon-fed to audiences, and that sometimes the strangest stories leave the biggest impact. So yes, I agree. Number 10 on the list, I agree. Moving on to number 9 on this list of 10 shows from the 90s that changed the world, you see Beverly Hills 90210. I changed the world. I don't know if I agree with that. It definitely set a tone. It was like, it took Saved by the Bell and made it into a drama, kind of. Right. Like Saved by the Bell was played for laughs. Saved by the Bell was like your after school special, played for laughs. 90210 came along, and I think 90210 was maybe a little bit even predated Saved by the Bell. But 902 came along, and actually, I think for the first time in a dramatic way, served a younger teen audience.
Yeah.
Of like their own drama. Like dramas were usually just for adults. And yes, teens had shows like The Full House, like Family Matters, and Fresh Prince, but they were more comedies. They didn't have the drama built around it. Like
it was a nighttime soap opera for teens. Yeah, that I think that's a great way to describe it. And I might argue that it single-handedly gave the WB a reason to exist. It's like, oh, I'm going to make 17 other shows just like that and create a network.
That's very true. Because it did spawn. Yeah, you're right. One Tree Hill. You had the other, all the other. Oh, Dawson's Creek.
There you go.
Dawson Creek probably does not exist. So maybe they're onto something here with Screen Rant. With that, they said without 90210, the way for teen shows in the 90s and beyond, there would likely be no Dawson's Creek, The OC, or Riverdale. It proved that young audiences could carry a primetime drama and change how networks develop content for years to come. So you
definitely
nailed it,
a genre that didn't exist. Of course I did.
Number 8 on the list is, now I will say this, there is not a man watching among us or watching this quickie that has not at least watched 5 minutes of Charmed, whether it be in its initial run or now on constant repeats at 6 in the morning on TNT.
Yeah.
You're getting ready for work and you're a single man and you flip through, you're like, oh, there's Alyssa Milano. I want to see what she's up to.
And you're right. 5 minutes is about all, because they're keeping their clothes on. Never mind.
I got to get to work. So it started with Shannon Doherty, Holly Marie Combs, and Alyssa Milano, and then Rose McGowan took over for Shannon Doherty. I don't know if I would say change the world, but the argument that Screen Rant gives is that it was a revolutionary for how it centered female empowerment in a genre that typically didn't. Okay. So it was like a sci-fi type of show that was very female driven. The show's mix of magic, sisterhood, and serialized storytelling made it a trailblazer for shows like Supernatural, The Vampire Diaries, and even Marvel's WandaVision. They said running for 8 seasons, Charm became the longest running hour-long series with female leads at the time.
8 seasons is impressive. That's a long time.
It is. It is impressive. And I think there was something to that. I still don't know if I would say it changed the world,
right?
But it did do something to where it was female empowerment, so you had the ladies to watch it, and they knew what they were doing in the 90s along those lines of there is enough going on for guys that they will tune in as well and not realize they're getting a show about female empowerment. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Moving on.
Well, talk about a show that has been on for, it's still on, isn't it?
Yes, but they say, well, now they have all the different ones. They're talking about just the regular Law and Order. Okay. Now they have SVU and
in some variation, it's existed for 30 years.
Since 1990, it's been going on. I would say yes. I would agree that Law and Order did kind of change the world in the fact that there are so many other Boston legal. You have courtroom dramas. Yeah. JAG, NCIS, all the other ones that have come from Law and Order, Chicago PD, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
They say what made Law and Order truly groundbreaking was its commitment to realism and structure. It brought a gravitas to network TV that felt fresh in a world of sitcoms and soapy dramas. So the grittiness factor of it. They said the show's legacy goes beyond its longevity. It influenced countless imitators and normalized the idea that TV could tackle serious, often uncomfortable topics without losing viewers.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah, because I mean, there certainly have been other hour-long dramas and mysteries and cop shows and things like that. But you're right. That I think they dove into things that were ripped from the headlines, from what I understand.
Yes, these are ripped from the heads, but the names have been changed to protect the innocent. ER comes in at number 6, and I would say yes to that. Like, for me, my parents watched that growing up, and it's obvious without ER and its success, you don't get Grey's Anatomy and the myriad of other ones, even like The Pit now on HBO Max, of these hospital dramas.
And, I think it was such a juggernaut in that, and a lot of these shows have that, where it became a social experience. I mean, you watched it and then talked about it a lot.
Yes.
And I think that was a new-ish thing for television.
Well, I think the water cooler is always there, but I think the other thing that they were willing to do on ER is go into, I don't want to say graphic, but they were taking you into the belly of the beast in a way that wasn't sanitized for television.
Correct.
It was like,
yeah, yes, and I guess the other thing about it was, and this was unique in the 90s as well, or started in the 90s, of having episodic seasons that had a story arc through the seasons, as opposed to a show that you can just drop in the middle, and whether doesn't matter what season it is, it's entertaining by itself.
Yeah, they said ER influenced an entire generation of medical and workplace dramas, proved that audiences could handle intense pacing, moral ambiguity, and emotionally devastating storylines, all within the same hour. For years, it was considered much-watched TV, and its impact on serialized drama still reverberates. I didn't think about that, about the moral ambiguity of, should we give this heart? Should you not do this procedure? Should you do this? Should you do that? I didn't even think about that part of it. And the devastating storylines of knowing that not everyone's going to make it to the end of that episode. Right. That when a patient rolls in and they get you hooked with their emotional story, knowing there's a chance that you're going to have to deal with the grief of that patient not winning their battle.
They were okay with not having a happy ending. Cool.
Correct.
I'll check.
Yeah. Check indeed. Number 5, X-Files. I don't really have a point of reference. I didn't watch the X-Files much, but I can't go against the fact that it did change much like Twin Peaks was. It also showed that you can go into some really out there storylines of aliens and everything else and still prove to be a successful series.
The Fox network was still pretty young at that time.
Yes. Yes.
And so for them to have a breakout show, that wasn't The Simpsons or wasn't in living color, really put them on the map. When I first started watching it, I was kind of, come on, these conspiracy theories, blah, blah, blah. And pretty soon you just go, oh, this is a really interesting story. And the conspiracy theories become secondary. And as it went through the years, it just became more and more compelling, and yeah, I think it was it was dark. Who's the Gilligan? What's his name? Because he same guy who did. No, but he went on to do Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Okay, yeah.
This was his first. I can't think of his name. Vince Gilligan.
Okay, yeah, and Chris Carter was a creator.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said the thing about it was it treated genre TV with respect. It used to be like when you get this kind of subject matter on TV, it'd be like a little bit on the goofy side, like Kolchak the Night Stalker, that kind of thing, or whatever. But they treated it more with respect, and they said it ignited a cult following. Its DNA is everything from Fringe to Stranger Things, and it helped lay the groundwork for genre storytelling as prestige television. The truth wasn't just out there; it was on prime time. So yes, I would.
And
agree
it's
with
a show that people still, new generations discover it and dig it just as much as the people in the 90s did. It's not terribly dated. I mean, there are some very uniquely 90s things about it, but for the most part, it holds up pretty well.
Yeah, ran from 93 to 2002. So I would agree that X-Files did change the world. Coming in at number 4 on their list, Seinfeld from 1989 to 1998. And to be honest, as someone who watched it, I would say you can't deny that it did change the world. The fact that it was must-see television, and it was the first time I felt, and I think a lot of people did, that it was a show that involves such mundane situations that we all find ourselves in.
Think of the vocabulary from Seinfeld that still exists and is battered around today in regular conversation, from yada 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 to you're a double dipper, just all these things that they invented.
No soup for you.
What's that? No soup for you.
No soup for you.
Yeah. And they didn't do it. They didn't set out and say we're going to invent a catchphrase, but it just had that effect on people. She's a two-face. She's got weird hands. I mean, there's all these.
Dolores.
Yeah.
Like, is your name Mulva? Greg. Yeah. Greg comments shrinkage. There was shrinkage.
Yeah.
Like that's another great one. And even a couple nights ago, I have some family friends in town, and we're playing a version of Trivial Pursuit, and I still had to say, "Oh, I'm sorry." The correct answer was the Moops.
Yeah,
the Moops. I mean, there's still that still gets referenced to this day.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, you can go on and on and on. I think it really. There had been other TV shows with comedians as the centerpiece, Cosby, obviously. But I think Seinfeld really kicked off and showed this is how you use a stand-up in a sitcom.
Yeah, and that's what they said. They said what made it felt groundbreaking was it tossed aside heartwarming endings and life lessons in favor of awkward conversations and selfish behavior.
Right.
And it's like, without Seinfeld, you're probably not going to get It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Arrested Development, all those kind of irreverent, just not goofy, but awkward, like comedy, like Seinfeld is.
And Larry David's rule of, was it no morals, no hugging? I mean, you couldn't ever have. They could never learn from their idiocy. That was
Correct.
That was a hallmark of the way it was written, is that nobody became better, which the finale of Seinfeld is very controversial, but
it is.
It buttoned it up and showed exactly what they wanted to show, is that these people learned nothing.
Nothing.
They're sitting in a jail in purgatory, and they've learned nothing. And I think that's what made that thing work for the people who felt that it worked.
Right. Yeah. You know what? I never really looked at the finale in that way before, but you're right. Knowing that now, that's the perfect finale.
Yeah.
Because these people never learned. And the whole premise of the show was never really had a happy ending. So why would you then change everything at the end just to make people feel better about themselves?
Yeah.
Number three, and
nobody redeeming in that show. That's for sure.
No. Number 3 on the list. Interesting to place this high. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Talk about WB.
Yeah.
And I think part of it, the reason why it changed the world may have been it kind of combined, because it came out, I watched it. It came out in 1997. So it kind of took things from X-Files, from Charmed, and from like 90210, and that you had a teenager in high school dealing with teen drama, but also monsters and things like from X-Files with a female lead on top of it. So it was like almost the next generation and the next step of what was started by a few of the shows before it on this list.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I never really got into it, but I recognize it as its own huge bulwark for sure.
Yeah, it was a metaphor-rich storytelling, they said. It was innovative and embraced serialized arcs long before it was standard to develop a mythology as complex as any prestige drama. It became a template for blending genre and character-driven drama. It paved the way for everything from Veronica Mars to The Witcher, and even Wednesday probably has a lot to do with Buffy the Vampire Slayer as well. So, okay, another one that I wasn't sold on, but now talking it out, okay. This one I'm not, though. How did Friends change the world, Johnny? Would you lay it on me? It was never for me. I never really cared for Friends. Like, I was a Seinfeld person, not a Friends person. They were on the same network around the same time. Friends went 94 to 2004. And I don't know. It wasn't for me. I understand it was a cultural phenomenon, but I don't know if it changed the world.
Yeah. No, I don't even know that it necessarily changed television. I mean, it was look, it was well written. It was on for 11 years, something like that.
10 years, yeah.
And it was definitely, it became episodic, and you became invested in Ross and Rachel, and you became invested in the subtle soap opera.
That just was a play on Sam and Diane. That wasn't breaking any ground. That was Sam and Diane from Cheers.
Yeah.
The will they, won't they, for the longest time.
So, I mean, as a monster show, I mean, it was a pivotal show of the decade, I guess, but changed the world?
It's kind of, I feel like Friends the same way I feel about Hootie and the Blowfish. Just because it was popular doesn't mean it changed. Like, Hootie and the Blowfish was a giant band in 1995. Did they change the face of music? No. But I mean, it's comfort for some people. It's vanilla. It's not, it's not going to be terrible. Their argument is, unlike many sitcoms before it, Friends blended ongoing storylines with laugh out loud humor. Yep. As you mentioned, Ross and Rachel's Will They, Won't They. It was sleek, emotional, and aspirational, particularly how it portrayed 20-somethings navigating life, love, and rent in New York City. And it influenced massive hits like How I Met Your Mother, New Girl, Big Bang Theory, and countless others. I guess.
I'm not seeing the comparison. I'm not seeing the comparison with those shows.
I was going to say, I can see maybe How I Met Your Mother in the fact that they were a group of friends in New York, but I don't know if you needed Friends to make How I Met Your Mother. Right? The storyline's vastly different. How I Met Your Mother is Southern Story, How I Met Your Mother.
I think so.
Big Bang Theory, I don't really see. I mean, the casting may be the same of a group of friends living in an apartment across from each other kind of thing, and the Leonard and Penny Will They, Won't They. But I don't know. This is the one on this list, even though they have it so high, that I just go, I can't say change the world. It was a massive hit and important to pop culture, but I can't say it changed the world.
I'm with you on that one.
And number 1, The Simpsons. 1989 to the present. Yeah, it changed. It changed everything. Let's just face facts. It changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
It changed the way we look at the family dynamic. It was the new age, dopey dad, the eat my shorts, the Bart Simpson craze, the fact that you could have an animated show that would be geared kind of towards adults in prime time on a
Yep.
major network. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on of all that it did.
It does, yeah. And you think back to 1989, and the reaction to The Simpsons, you would have thought like The Sopranos was being shown on PBS or something, in place of Sesame Street. I mean, the controversy around Bart saying "Eat my shorts" is, it was bananas. I mean, you would have thought it was filth.
True to this day, I will still meet people, right? If I'm meeting new people, and the Simpsons are so ubiquitous now that you just quote so much of it. I mean, there's so many quotable lines, and I will always meet those people more than I thought there was. Of, oh, we weren't allowed to watch that when it came out. Like, my parents banned us from watching The Simpsons, and it baffled me of, like, why? Like, what was so terrible about The Simpsons that your parents banned you from watching it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And especially when you look back on it from today's lens, maybe because it was animated and we associate cartoons with kids, and so are we attracting kids to this, edgy comedy where the dad is strangling the son, and and everybody's drunk and.
Because Elmer Fudd never strangled Bugs Bunny or vice versa. Like, seriously.
No, I know. I agree.
Said The Simpsons changed the rules for animation, paving the way for South Park, Family Guy, Futurama, and more. Proved cartoons were just for kids, and that comedy could be sharp, smart, and scathing, all in the same breath.
Mm-hmm.
Its shadow looms large over all modern television, and its place in the most influential 90s TV show is hard to argue against. Correct. I would agree wholeheartedly. Excellent one at number one, because if anyone on this list truly changed the world, it would be The Simpsons.
Yeah. And, I think you could probably do this with just about every decade of finding at least 10 shows that were pivotal, changed things, set a new course. But I think what's interesting is when you think about the 90s, was that the last network decade? Was that the last time,
Yes.
before we got into shows being on HBO and shows being, just all these other options to watch serial television. I don't know. It may very well have been the last decade to have that weight of television before things really started to get splintered.
Yep, wholeheartedly. I would agree wholeheartedly. You'd be hard pressed to name a network show, especially this year, that people actually watch all at the same time and discuss. Like, network television just kind of just sits there in an abyss anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they existed, of course. You mentioned, How I Met Your Mother and Big Bang, and those that were in the
Modern Family,
and those kinds of things. Malcolm in the Middle, Office, and those things that would be associated with early 2000s or teens. But then the cable networks really started stepping up their game and getting into the act. And suddenly you got The Walking Dead, and you've got these shows that were showing up on non-network things, and they were really, really taking chances.
You mentioned Sex and the City, Sopranos, like the HBO run that they had. The Wire, right? Everyone talked about The Wire. You also mentioned Breaking Bad earlier on AM. I mean, so you're right. It kind of, I think the 90s was the last decade where the network anchored and had that many shows that changed the world within their purview, and not in cable or in subscription based places.
That's a good list. I like that list.
Yeah, I did too. Fun conversation.